sparks where journeys of the spirit come alive. I'm your host, Saima, and today we are joined by Zoa Conner, a functional wellness guide, retreat leader, and scientist with a soul type mission. She's on a quest to help you feel better, not older, by fusing brain power with body wisdom. So, tonight we are diving into the alchemy of travel, how getting away can actually bring you closer to yourself. Zoa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I'm glad to have you here. So, Zoa, you believe that travel can reignite our soul spark, and like so do I. So, I'm really curious to know that what is it about stepping away from our routine that creates that shift?
I think there's several pieces to how travel can be helpful at creating that shift. One has to do with the brain, and one has to do with changing the stimulation to your nervous system, and one has to do with meeting your needs that aren't being met at your normal lifestyle at home.
Mm-hmm. So, it's really, I believe that it's wild how sometimes just a new view can unlock something ancient inside us, right?
Absolutely. So we tend to easily get into a rut. We have the same things that we do over and over, whether it be the food that we eat or the way that we drive to work or our routine for getting ready for bed. And if that's working really well for you, then that is fabulous. But very often, our normal patterns at home could use some improvement. And while I do help people with that, I also really encourage them to take a step away and allow a new pattern to start to emerge to how they flow through their days, to what they choose to eat and when they choose to eat it, to how they move their bodies. And, all sorts of things can change for you when you step away from your normal life. You can sleep better. You can eat better. I mean, you could eat worse too, and you could sleep worse, but we try to make sure that that doesn't happen. We try to make sure that the travel is improving and augmenting, not taking anything away. But sometimes just the change of space, the actual geographic space that you're in, going to the mountains or going to the desert or going to the beach,
Mm-hmm.
those are places of space. You can see the horizon, which means you can also see your future in a different way, right? When you focus on things far away, like the sunset on the beach or the sunrise over the mountains, um, you can change your eyes, but then that changes your brain and that changes which parts of your brain are active. So a lot of people who deal with depression, for example, even if it's just a very mild, occasional, sort of down mood regulation, they need to see far away. They need to look at a distance, and then that changes their brain. And so travel can provide that kind of very concrete change, but also it can just provide a really great habit change. And then sometimes those habits are working so well that you bring them home and you change your at home habits too.
I completely agree with that, Zoa. Completely. So, is it the physical movement or the energetic change that matters most?
Oh, I would say yes, which is one of my favorite answers. They're both important. And which one matters most is going to depend on you as a human, and more importantly, where you are right now. Let me give you an example. Um, so many people have pain in their body, and the pain, they feel like it varies, it changes. Sometimes it's more intense, sometimes it's less intense, but they don't always associate that with an energetic or a mood or an emotional component. They usually go to um, bones being out of place, a muscle being tight. I did the wrong kind of movement, right? The physical aspect. But there's a lot to be said for the fact that we hold our emotions in our body as well. And so on any given day, maybe you moved more with your shoulder that was hurting and it's physical in nature, but maybe you also dealt with the emotions that are being held in that shoulder more. And I think the same thing is true for travel. You know, you could just take a day out of the house and go anywhere. Um, and it gives you a different viewpoint. It interacts you with different people. You know, you take a snack or you take advantage of, a cafe or a restaurant or a new store. And so there's a shift of the physical and a shift of the energetic. And it's hard to know in advance. Sometimes you can tell retrospectively which one was more important in the moment on that day.
Absolutely. That's like such a meaningful perspective. It's really true. I too believe that the physical and energetic are so intertwined together that, focusing on just one can feel incomplete.
Absolutely. And focusing on only one also won't work very well because you can never get fully healed or fully to the place that you want to be by only considering one. And this is definitely something that I had to learn because with my background as a PhD physicist, it I would be all about facts and understanding something. And if I didn't understand it or couldn't feel it or couldn't touch it or couldn't manipulate it, because I was in experimental physics, um, then it was hard to understand for me. But when I came into yoga and the other more energetic spiritual practices that I developed throughout my life, I can now see that one feeds the other. And when I have a client who only wants to deal with the physical and not the emotional and energetic, I just know they're only going to get halfway there. And usually we get halfway there and they get stuck. And then we can come back to, well, let's try a new approach because now you're stuck and open to it. And that's when we can proceed further because they've embraced the other half.
Mhm. So, like, you guide wellness retreats as well. So, like, how do you design them to, encourage not just rest, but like reconnection with the earth?
So when I design a travel experience for someone as a travel coach and a wellness practitioner, I'm considering multiple things all at the same time. There's the aspect of what they need, what is missing from their life, what is it that they are trying to provide. I think of travel kind of like a supplement. We take supplements in pills and bottles to take what's missing in our normal diet, and travel provides what's missing in our normal life. So if someone is missing space and quiet because they have a house full of people, um, and or maybe they work from home and don't feel like they get out to very much, then we're going to add space. So big spaces, lots of space around them, not sharing a room, having places to walk in nature. Um, we're also going to look at what transformation they're looking to make. Because for some people, they arrange a travel experience because something has happened in their life and they're trying to figure out the best way to go forward. And that might be the death of a parent. It might be a divorce. It might be a retirement. It might be a health scare from themselves or a loved one or a friend. And so it's based on the transformation that they're looking to create. Who do they want to become? Then we're creating a travel experience that gives them the ability to start to take that path to who they want to become. And the third aspect that I incorporate is the sustainability aspect. So, not just the climate and how our travel impacts the earth, that is super important and layered into every travel experience that I arrange, but also the work that we're doing on the trip or that the trip is inspiring needs to be sustainable for once they return home. I don't want anyone to feel like they have taken this wellness oriented, sustainable travel experience and then gone home and everything's gone back to normal. That's not the goal. The goal is to have it be a big step forward. And we want to
Mm-hmm.
keep you going forward, not just take one step because of the trip and then stop.
Mm-hmm. That, like, that's really a beautiful approach. Like, it's so easy for people, to think of retreats as just escape or rest, but like, it reminds me that, not only me but all the listeners out there as well, that the true restoration isn't just about relaxing the body, but also about remembering our relationship with the natural ground, grounding ourselves in something bigger than our day-to-day concerns. So
Absolutely. And so that's
mhm,
where the location that the person goes to is an important part. If someone is feeling heavy and slow and, kind of tied to their place, kind of stuck in place, then we want to create some light, airy movement to their life and to their body and to their emotions. And so we want to take them to a light, airy place where things move. Maybe that's a good person to go to the desert or um, to a beach where they can feel the breeze and they can get some heat and they can get some movement. Um, Whereas when someone is feeling so disconnected from the earth and themselves and they feel like they're constantly flitting around and can't focus on anything, and
mhm,
have a hard time calming down and sleeping, then we want to take them to a place where they can really connect to the earth and kind of root like a tree. So we want them to feel totally nurtured and supported and cocooned in the earth. So a hot desert would not be the right place for that person, but maybe a nice mountain lake would, because they could put their feet in the water and they could touch the grass and they could walk under the canopy of the trees and they could, feel nurtured by the space around them.
that already sounds so relaxing.
Well, for many of my clients, the goal is relaxation, but that's not always the case. Sometimes people arrange travel because they need to get up and go. They've been stuck, they've been stagnant, they need a direction, and travel is a great way to create the proper stimulation so that they can have that kind of oomph to their life. And this is often true for young people, but it's not always the young, right? Imagine someone who's just finishing university or another, educational program, and that they've gone all the way from birth up to this point, and now they're set in terms of like they're ready to jump out into the world, but they don't know what to do in that sense. They need time to explore, and travel is a great way to do that. And you can contrast that with someone who has just in the process of a divorce or in the process of having her children go to university, and now she's left with less responsibility at home, needs a new direction there as well. And so those people may not be the young 20 somethings anymore, but they absolutely need a little kick in a new direction. And travel can provide that. It can provide confidence. It can provide independence. It can provide appropriate new stimulation and inspiration for the next part of their life, a new step.
That completely makes sense. So, now, coming from a physics background, I'm really eager to know that how does your scientific mind, influence your spiritual approach to healing through travel?
Well, so there's some logic to it, like we were discussing, and
Hmm.
based on what's missing in your life, what should you add that travel can do? Um, and then there's just the trust and the intuition, which is the energetic side. And you can think about that as being a quantum mechanics, quantum physics aspect, right? Einstein is well known for explaining that math and energy are the same. So that means that objects in front of you that you can touch and feel have an energetic side, which is equivalent. And so light is a great example. We see light, it's moving, it's energy, it makes us hot when we are out in the sunshine for too long. And yet, my scientific experiment that I used to get my PhD with involved light as a particle having to hit something physical and an interaction happen. And so when we travel, there's our movement of our physical body into that new place and around that place. And then there's the energetic component of now I can breathe in a different air, a different water. I feel like a different, new, wonderful person. And then the goal is to take that new, wonderful person back home with you and have the energetics of that change be strong enough to be sustained.
Hmm. That's like such a fascinating blend, Zoa. And so often people see this as like opposing forces, but your approach, it like reminds us that understanding the mechanics of the universe can actually deepen our sense of wonder and connection when it comes to healing and personal growth, right?
Yes, and I think it's important to also recognize that you don't have to understand everything in order for it to work for you, right? Because we as humans love to learn new things, but we can't possibly know everything. And so, assuming that you have to know exactly why something works in order to take a supplement or take a trip is holding you back. You can use your
I,
intuition and your trust.
hmm, I like that you're not just following intuition, but like also honoring the laws of nature and the patterns that science reveals. It's like a rare and powerful combination, Zoa.
And frequently with my clients, what we do is we play a little game, right? So the little game might be, um, I feel really good when I take this supplement or eat this food. Can you explain why? And usually the answer is yes. We can figure out what is it that that is giving them. But then the other way has to do with reversing that. So we know we're looking for something and which is the right solution. So that's where you can use your intuition to decide between several choices that all could be logically argued that they make sense, but one of them energetically is the better choice for you. And so when we use both the energetic and the physical aspects, we make the right choice more often.
Hmm. That's noteworthy. Now, if someone can travel far, so what are some small ways they can still reconnect with the earth and feel that vitality again?
Well, travel doesn't have to always involve far, right? Yes, I might have someone who wants to go from the US to Europe or to Japan, but travel could simply be going 10 minutes down the road to a place with big, beautiful trees and having lunch under the tree. That could be just a tiny mini travel experience. It gets you out of your normal world. The question is that enough of a travel experience for you? And I would argue that for many people, the answer is yes, but they don't take full advantage of those opportunities and they don't consider them valuable enough to make time for. People tend to make
Mhm.
time for the big things that are costly, and then they make a big deal out of them, the once a year big vacation. But what about the things you could do daily or weekly that are easy and close by? And the cumulative effect of those small travel experiences can be more impactful for you than the one infrequent big experience.
Mhm. I love that you shared that, Zoa. It's easy to think that deeper reconnection requires a big trip or a remote location, but you have made it clear that it can happen in small, everyday ways, and that's really empowering to know that vitality and grounding are available to us wherever we are, right?
Absolutely. And when I offer 3-day private retreats, yes, I might arrange to send them to the mountains or the desert or the beach, but I might also bring them here to my physical space and give them 3 days with me. And, I live on the east coast of the US. It's not a mountain, it's not a beach, it's not a desert, but it's still an experience which allows them to connect to nature and they can take walks in the park and they can connect with me and the other humans that are here. And they can still have a wonderful experience, even if it's not some remote, faraway place.
It's really comforting to hear that. Zoa Conner, you reminded us that travel isn't just escape, it's remembrance. When we walk unfamiliar paths with open hearts, we often return home not just changed but restored. So, listeners, go ahead, book the trip, touch the trees, feel the soil, and let the earth whisper you back to life. Until next time, stay lit from within and let your soul spark lead the way.